CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I bought train tickets from the dark web to explore haunted locations. The next location was hell. Alright, I never thought I'd actually post this on Reddit, but here we are. I've always been into weird stuff. You know, haunted places, abandoned buildings, those late night animated horror stories on YouTube that sound just realistic enough to mess with your head. I used to fall asleep listening to stuff like my college roommate disappeared after using the deep web, or why you should never open that basement door, that kind of thing. But I never thought I'd actually be one of those stories. This all started about 6 months ago. I'm 22. I work part-time at Starbucks, and I run this small horror TikTok account where I post creepy urban legends and ghost story voiceovers with aesthetic edits. Nothing crazy. I wasn't rich or anything, just a dude trying to keep people entertained while vibing through life. One night, I was scrolling through Reddit and found this thread deep in r/internet mysteries. Someone posted about this alleged ghost train ticket vendor on the dark web. People were calling it the conductor, like full-on lore. You could apparently buy haunted train tickets to real-world places that had twisted pasts. Think Chernobyl, Hiroshima Island, that abandoned Six Flags in New Orleans. Even creepier stuff that wasn't even on Google Maps. Most of the comments were calling it fake, but a few people claimed they actually bought tickets. One guy said his friend never came back. Another girl swore she got off at a station in the middle of the woods in Russia, where she found a cabin filled with VHS tapes that weren't hers. I was like, okay, this has to be some ARG or YouTube series marketing thing. But that night, something made me go digging. I already had Tor installed from years back when I was dumb and curious. So I booted it up again, slipped on my VPN, and searched for the conductor. It wasn't easy to find. I had to go through 3 sketchy forums, 1 capture maze, and a weird website that had nothing but an image of a train station with no trains. But eventually, I landed on this black screen with blinking white text. Welcome to the conductor. One-way tickets only. It was simple. No flashy UI. Just text. Like some retro terminal from the 80s. There was a menu. Ticket to Black Ridge Asylum, $45. Ticket to Morning Vale Station, $60. Ticket to the Red Lake, $75. Ticket to Alaska. Priceless ticket to hell, $0. Yes, hell. With no cost, completely free. The only free one. Underneath each location was a little description. Black Ridge Asylum read, abandoned in 1972. Lights still turn on at night. The Red Lake said, water deeper than recorded. No bottom found. And then there was hell. No description. Just a pulsing red dot next to it. Okay, listen. I know this sounds like some dumb creepypasta so far. I'm telling you right now, I thought the same thing. I thought I'd just click it. Maybe get a funny jump scare link and call it a night. But when I clicked hell, something weird happened. My browser froze for like 20 seconds. Not crashed, just frozen. Then a pop-up appeared that looked like a Zoom call invite, like literal webcam pop-up vibes. It just said, "Boarding begins now. Confirm ticket?" I hesitated, but clicked yes, and instantly, my laptop fan kicked into overdrive like it was trying to take off. Then my webcam turned on. I'm not even kidding. A red LED lit up and my face showed up on screen for like 2 seconds. I panicked and shut the laptop. About 5 minutes later, I got an email. And this is where it gets real. The email was from a random address, like a mix of numbers and letters. 72 ex-conductor 394 at ghostrail.mail. Subject line just said, "Ticket confirmed. Departure, October 21st, 2025, 3:33 a.m. And attached to the email was a literal ticket, like a PDF, styled like some old 1920s train stub. My full name was on it. My address too. Even the last 4 digits of my debit card, which I never entered. It was stamped in red ink that read, "Destination, hell, no return." You'd think this is where I'd freak out, right? But nah. I was in that weird half-skeptical, half-intrigued state. I thought maybe it was just a deep web prank, or like someone running a really elaborate ARG, but it still creeped me out enough to print the ticket just in case. Fast forward 2 nights later, October 21st. I stayed up late editing a TikTok for my channel, drinking a Red Bull, casually watching some lunar stories in the background. At 3:33 a.m., I kid you not, I heard the sound of a train horn. Now I live in Chicago, in a regular arse apartment complex, nowhere near any train tracks. So my first instinct was to check outside. That's when I saw it. Down the street, maybe a block away, there was a train station that wasn't there yesterday. I mean that literally. This old iron station, fog pouring out from underneath it, flickering yellow lights, and this black train just sitting there on the tracks like it had been waiting for decades. I put on a hoodie, grabbed my phone, and this is where I might have made the dumbest decision of my life. I walked toward it. As I got closer, I noticed something weird. The people boarding the train weren't normal. There was this girl in a prom dress soaked in what looked like black ink, holding a teddy bear with no face. An old man in a military uniform, missing his legs, crawling up the steps like it was nothing. A guy with a Starbucks apron on, looked exactly like the dude I worked with who went missing last year. No one talked, not even a whisper, just footsteps. I tried recording it, but every time I opened my camera, it would glitch out. Not the app, the entire phone, just black screen and this weird high-pitched static, like when a TV channel doesn't exist. Then, this figure stepped off the train and looked right at me. He was wearing this long black coat, kind of like an old-timey conductor, but his face was covered with a porcelain mask, white, with just a slit for a mouth. No eyes, no nose. He held out a gloved hand, didn't speak, just waited. So, like a dumbass character in a horror movie, I handed him my printed ticket. He looked at it, nodded slowly, then stepped aside and gestured for me to board. I took a deep breath, and I stepped onto the train. I wish I could say that stepping onto the train felt like any other moment, like getting on the L train during rush hour, standing in that weird silence with your AirPods in, and maybe checking TikTok between stops. But it wasn't like that. The second I crossed the doorway, it was like my ears imploded. Not from sound, from the lack of it. You know how horror games sometimes use this deep, low hum that vibrates under your skin? That was the closest thing to what I felt. Except this wasn't a sound. It was more like a frequency of wrongness. Like the kind of stillness you hear right before a building collapses or a storm surge hits a beach and everything alive just stops moving. Inside, the train didn't look modern or old. It looked wrong. There were no windows. The walls pulsed like they were made of stretched skin. I'm not even exaggerating. You could see veins, slow, dark lines, shifting just under the surface. The seats looked like someone tried to mimic what a seat was, but had never actually seen one. They had these weird flesh-like cushions, too warm to the touch, like sitting on something alive that didn't want you there. The lighting came from the ceiling, but there were no bulbs, just this dim, colorless glow, like the inside of a hospital room if the hospital had been buried underground for a century. There were people sitting, kind of. Most of them didn't move. Some looked like people you'd pass on the street, wearing coats, hoodies, even McDonald's uniforms, but their eyes weren't right. Some didn't have any. Others were wide open and completely black, like no sclera, no pupil, just void. One girl, no older than 14, had her mouth stitched shut. Actual black thread knotted into her cheeks like a rag doll. Her eyes twitched when I walked past. She wanted to scream. I could feel it in my bones, but no one made a sound, not even a breath. I sat down in an empty seat, trying to focus. I kept telling myself it was a dream, a prank, some ultra-immersive VR horror game. But then I saw something that ripped the comfort right out of me. A mirror, just one, across from me. And in that mirror, I wasn't me. I mean, my clothes were the same, my body was the same, but my face, it looked like it had been rotten for weeks. My skin was greenish gray, with holes under the eyes, like I'd been crying acid. My teeth were chipped, and my lips were torn in places, like I had been chewing them off in my sleep. But I felt fine. That's the worst part. I didn't feel dead, but I looked like I had been for years. I blinked. The reflection didn't. I looked away and tried not to throw up. I buried my head in my hoodie and focused on breathing. That's when I realized something else. The train had no engine sound, no rattling, no motion, but we were moving. The hallway behind me seemed to stretch as I stared down it, like it was breathing. The doors between cars opened by themselves, slow and hissing. I saw movement at the very end of the train, something crawling on the ceiling. I couldn't tell what it was, but it wasn't human. Or if it was, it didn't want to be anymore. After what felt like hours, a voice finally came over the intercom. Except it wasn't a voice. It was like a reversed whisper played over broken speakers. But somehow, I understood it. Next stop, the Garden of Teeth. The lights dimmed, and the doors opened at the next car. No station, no platform, just the doors. The passengers didn't move, but something got on. This thing crawled in. I swear to whatever's listening, it was shaped like a human, but it was stretched too thin. It had no skin, just sinew and exposed muscle, and its arms bent backwards. The eyes were bulbous and dripping something black. When it walked by, it dragged one leg behind it, like it was broken, and it gurgled under its breath, like it was trying to speak underwater. It stopped right in front of me, didn't look, didn't move, just stood there. Then it exhaled through its stomach, not its mouth. Its stomach opened like a vertical mouth, lined with human teeth, and this puff of foul, humid air hit me like hot garbage and vinegar. That was when I snapped. I bolted toward the next car. The other passengers didn't react, not even when I shoved past them. They just stared forward like statues, or corpses, waiting to remember they were dead. The next train car was worse. It looked like a classroom. No, more like a recreation of one. The desks were metal slabs. The chalkboard was flesh, stitched together from what looked like dozens of different people. You could still see tattoos, freckles, even scars, and written across it in a child's handwriting was, "Be quiet or be taken." At the front, there was a teacher, at least, something dressed like one. It wore a mask made of doll faces stitched together, a tie soaked in what looked like old milk. It stood in the corner, writing equations on the board with its nails. The screeching sound it made was unbearable. People sat at the desks, scribbling nothing on blank sheets of paper, heads twitching violently, like they were being shocked every time they paused. A girl at the back turned to me. No eyes, just two gaping holes, red and empty. She mouthed something. 3 words. "You're already dead." I ran again. Every new car was worse. One looked like a hospital ward, except the patients were sewn into the walls, their organs dangling from IVs like Christmas lights. One was filled with mannequins in bloodied high school uniforms, all facing TVs that played static over and over. One had mirrors everywhere, and each one reflected a different version of me. In one, I was laughing hysterically, covered in blood. In another, I was on my knees, holding what looked like my own skin. The last mirror showed nothing, just a black void behind glass. I didn't know how long I'd been running, but finally, I made it to the last car, and that's where I met the conductor again. He stood at the far end of the car, facing away. His porcelain mask was now cracked. The lights behind him flickered violently, casting long shadows that twitched on their own. He didn't move at first, just stood there, hands behind his back, like he'd been waiting this whole time. Then, without turning, he said, "You chose this." You clicked the door. I wanted to scream, to cry, to beg for answers, but all I said was, "Where are we going?" He turned. This time his mask wasn't blank. It was my face, rotten but smiling, the same smile from the mirror. He stepped aside, revealing one final door behind him. It wasn't a train door. It was wooden, old, burned in places. There were claw marks on the sides, and a single word carved in the center. Hell. The door opened on its own. I don't even remember walking through it. 1 second, I was on the train. The next, I was falling, like being dropped from a plane. My ears screamed. My eyes watered. I couldn't breathe. There was no sky, no ground, just pressure. Then, suddenly, impact. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a town, or what used to be one. It looked like an old carnival had been dropped in the middle of a ruined city. Rusted rides still moved, even though there was no wind. The buildings around me were hollow, windows smashed in, lights still flickering, like someone forgot to turn them off decades ago. And everywhere, there were speakers, on lampposts, on rooftops, on telephone poles, and they were all playing this twisted version of a McDonald's jingle, slowed down and warped until it sounded like something crying. And then, through the static, "Welcome to hell. Population, you all end part 2 here. Not because that's the end of the story, but because something just knocked on my door, and I haven't told anyone where I live since I got back. The town that remembers you. When I hit the ground, I thought I'd broken every bone in my body, but the air didn't taste like air anymore. It tasted like static and dust, like I'd fallen into the memory of a place instead of the place itself. The sky wasn't dark or bright. It looked like someone had tried to paint a sunset, but ran out of colors halfway through. The light hung wrong, bleeding through buildings that leaned too close together, roofs bent like they were listening. The carnival music kept playing, low and warped. Somewhere in the distance, a carousel turned by itself, each horse frozen mid-scream. Their shadows didn't match their movements. Every few rotations, one of them was gone, replaced by something standing still, something watching. I started walking. There was nowhere else to go. The streets had names, but no words. The signs were blank metal. Storefronts had shapes. Fast food counters, coffee machines, racks of clothes. But everything was stripped of logos, as if the world had been copyright cleansed. A paper cup rolled past my feet. It looked like a Starbucks cup, only the mermaid's face was missing. My phone buzzed. The screen was cracked, battery at 6%. A single notification blinked. Live stream. One viewer. The title was You. The camera was already on. It was showing me, walking down that empty street. I shut it off. It turned itself back on. The first building that still had light inside was a diner. Chrome booths, a jukebox that clicked through songs, even though no record moved. The air smelled like grease and burnt sugar. Every table had half-finished meals that hadn't rotted, burgers still warm, fries glistening with oil, milkshakes with whipped cream that didn't melt, and people sat there. They looked normal until you focused too long. Their skin shimmered like a bad filter trying to hide decay. Every now and then a face flickered, replaced by another one entirely, as if they were buffering different memories of themselves. One man looked up at me. His voice sounded like mine, but slowed down, layered over itself. "You came late." "Where am I?" I asked. He smiled with all the calm of a dead photograph. "You paid for the express route." He slid something across the table, a napkin covered in numbers, long strings of coordinates mixed with timestamps. At the bottom, 3:33, written in red pen. Before I could ask, the jukebox changed tracks. It started playing the sound of breathing, recorded, multiplied, overlapping until the diner itself felt alive. When I turned back, the man was gone. Only the napkin remained, and underneath it, a train ticket identical to mine, except this one read, "Return trip, 1 seat." Remaining outside, fog was rolling in thick and slow. I could hear the carousel creak. The horses weren't moving anymore. Instead, something else circled it. Long arms, too many joints, dragging behind it like ribbons of smoke. Every few seconds, it whispered my name in a voice that wasn't human speech, just the sound of my thought said back to me. I ducked behind a cotton candy stand and checked the coordinates. The map app still worked somehow, except it didn't show roads, just veins, pulsing red lines. The closest one led toward what looked like a subway entrance. As I moved, every screen I passed flickered on. Old C, R, T, T, V, S in store windows, digital billboards, even a broken phone lying in the gutter. They all showed me, lagging a few seconds behind, walking through hell like I was in a looped broadcast no one could turn off. The subway entrance breathed heat. The escalator moved on its own, downward into a red glow. Halfway down, I started hearing whispers again, childlike, overlapping, counting. 1 stop left, 2 stops left. You shouldn't have come. At the bottom, the platform was flooded ankle deep in water that reflected nothing. Posters peeled off the walls. Each one had the same message. Stay until you're remembered. The train was waiting. Not the one from before. This one looked modern, silver, spotless. Inside, lights hummed a clean white. The doors opened with a sigh, like the building itself was exhausted. I stepped in. Rows of screens lined the walls where windows should have been. Each screen showed a different version of my apartment. My desk, my bed, my laptop, still open to Reddit. A post titled, "He went missing after posting part 2." Comments scrolled by themselves, people asking if it was real, others posting theories. Then a new comment appeared, time-stamped. Now, you/the conductor, 394. He's not missing. He's just late. The train lurched. Every light went red. A voice over the speakers began reciting names. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, in tones that slid between languages. Every few seconds, my own name surfaced, repeated twice, like an error the system couldn't correct. The seats across from me filled slowly, one by one, not with bodies, with versions. Each copy of me looked worse, one coughing up ash, one smiling too wide, one whispering to something unseen. I pressed against the door. It wouldn't open. The other me's turned their heads in perfect sync. "You shouldn't have looked for us," they said. The PA crackled. "Next stop, home." The train stopped with a jolt. The doors opened to darkness. I stepped out and realized I was standing in my own hallway. My apartment door was right in front of me. Same peeling paint, same crooked number. My phone buzzed again. A new notification. Delivery confirmed. 3:33 a.m. I unlocked the door. The smell hit first. Ozone and burnt metal. My laptop was still open on the desk. The camera light was on. The stream was live again. One viewer. The chat window scrolled with a single repeating line. "Don't turn around." So I didn't, but I could see the reflection in the laptop screen. Something standing behind me, wearing my hoodie, smiling. The screen went black. The screen went black, but the light from the camera didn't. It stayed on, a single red dot burning in the dark like an open eye that refused to blink. I didn't breathe for almost a full minute. I waited for the reflection to move, to reach, to finish the motion I hadn't started. Nothing happened. Then my laptop spoke. Not the speakers, the machine itself. Every key clicked once, one after another, tapping out a sentence I didn't type. "Are you watching yourself yet?" The cursor blinked 3 times and froze. Somewhere inside the walls, I could hear humming, the kind you hear from fluorescent bulbs right before they die. Only this hum had a rhythm, almost like words underneath it, muffled speech coming from the drywall. I closed the laptop, but the screen stayed on under the lid. Light spilled through the edges like it was leaking. My apartment wasn't my apartment anymore. The angles were wrong. The hallway was too long. The shadows too deep. The posters on my wall were written in a language that looked like mine, but wasn't. Like someone copied English from memory, but forgot how it curved. The clock on the wall blinked 3:33 over and over. No seconds, no ticking, just 3:33 stamped in red. I opened the door to leave, but the hallway outside wasn't there. It was the inside of a train car. Same red seats, same hum, same smell of static and dust. Except this time, the windows weren't blank. They showed me in every seat, facing myself, all blinking out of sync like badly edited footage. Each version smiled 1 second too late. When I turned around, my door had vanished. The apartment didn't exist anymore. The intercom crackled. "This isn't your first trip." The voice wasn't the conductor's. It sounded like my own voice, slowed down and layered backwards, like listening to a recording of your dreams. I moved down the aisle. The other versions of me followed, heads turning in unison, lips twitching like they were trying to form words. One reached out. Its hand melted into static when it touched my sleeve. Every step I took echoed twice, once when I moved, and again a second later, quieter, like the sound was learning how to exist. The next door opened by itself. I expected more train cars, but I stepped into a room I recognized immediately. My childhood bedroom. Everything was perfect. Same glow-in-the-dark stars, same half-broken desk lamp, even the smell of laundry detergent my mum used. Except there was no window, and the bed was occupied. It was me, 12 years old, sleeping peacefully. I wanted to wake him, to shake him, and ask how to get out of this place. But when I got close, I saw the television in the corner. It was on, playing footage of an empty train moving through fog. Then the sleeping me opened his eyes, not slowly, not naturally. They just snapped open, wide, all black. "Don't wake us," he said. And then he smiled, and every light in the room went out at once. I fell backward into darkness and hit carpet, my living room floor again. The laptop was open. The stream had restarted. Viewer count 333. The chat flooded with one repeating message: "Stay still. The conductor is passing." I didn't move. The air got heavy, thicker, like someone had filled the room with warm water. From the corner of my vision, I saw him, the porcelain mask, cracked deeper now, walking past the window outside my 5th floor apartment, like gravity didn't exist. He stopped, turned toward me through the glass, and this time, the mask wasn't mine. It was every face I'd seen on that train, stitched together, shifting like slideshow frames, smiling in rhythm with a hum inside the walls. Then, just as suddenly, he was gone. The chat froze. The viewer count hit 0, and everything went silent again. When I finally looked outside, Chicago was still there, but empty. No cars, no people, just streetlights flickering in fog, thick enough to swallow sound. Down the block, the same train station from that first night waited. Black iron, yellow light, steam curling like breath. I should have run. I didn't. Something inside me whispered that the only way out was through. So I walked. Each step echoed back from somewhere that wasn't behind me. At the platform, a new ticket lay on the bench. My name again. Departure time, 3:33 a.m. Destination, unrendered sector. No price. The sound of the train grew louder, the horn stretching into a human scream, slowed down to a single note. As it arrived, I realized the cars weren't solid anymore. They looked half-built, like ideas of metal floating in air. Faces flickered in the windows, pressing against glass that wasn't really there. I stepped forward. The world around me folded in like wet paper, every building bending toward the station, pulled by something invisible. The door opened. Inside was darkness, but not empty darkness, the kind that watches back. I took a breath and stepped through. The last thing I remember before the door closed was a reflection in the train's chrome surface. Me, but older, eyes black and smiling, and the whisper that followed me in. Next stop, yourself. There isn't a sound in the world that feels more wrong than a train breathing. The air around me rises and falls in the dark, like the whole machine is alive, sighing through metal lungs. I stand because sitting makes me feel trapped, and standing makes me realize there isn't really a floor under me, just black glass, reflecting nothing. The sign above the doorway flashes a single word over and over. Terminus. No number. No name. Just that. The car is empty, but the seats remember people. When the light flickers, I can see the dents where bodies once were, the prints of fingers on handrails. The smell isn't death or dust. It's memory left too long in the sun. Then the PA clicks on. All remaining copies, please disembark. Copies, not passengers. Copies. The door opens and cold air rolls in. I step out and my shoes hit gravel. I'm standing on a platform made of old television screens, each one showing the same image. A night sky full of static. There's no train behind me anymore. Just a long shape of fog with rail lines vanishing into it. A single light post hums above a sign that says, "Welcome to the real world, currently under construction." The town beyond the station is motionless. Street lamps curve like broken ribs, wires dangling. The wind moves, but nothing else does. Houses are hollow outlines. When I look inside, they fill with whatever memory I think of. My grandmother's kitchen, my first apartment, the cheap hotel where I once stayed too long. Every room waits politely for me to remember it, so it can exist. I walk. The gravel crunches once, and then stops, like the world only has sound until I notice it. The farther I go, the more the town wakes. Streetlights buzz back to life. Storefronts flicker on. McDonald's, Starbucks, bookshop, pharmacy. All perfect and wrong at the same time. Their logos mirrored, their colors bleeding into each other. A phone booth rings. It's the only sound that belongs to something other than me. I pick it up. No dial tone, just breathing. Then my own voice, from somewhere else. "You left the door open." I don't know which door it means. The apartment, the train, the one inside my head that curiosity keeps knocking on. The breathing gets closer until it sounds like it's right behind me. And when I turn, I see myself walking out of the fog. Same clothes, same posture, different eyes, hollow, like someone drew them on paper. He stops an arm's length away. "They didn't need all of you," he says, "just the part that looked alive." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a card identical to my ticket, only this one is burned at the edges. Destination, remainder, storage fare, paid. He presses it into my hand. The paper is hot. "When they finish the next train," he whispers, "it'll need a conductor." The words settle in me like a seed. The idea isn't shouted, it's gentle, reasonable. A job offer wrapped in prophecy. The other me tilts his head, waiting for acceptance. For a second, I almost nod. Then the ground beneath us cracks open. Light spills out, not white, but the color of screens warming up. The air fills with the sound of notifications, thousands of tiny chimes, friendly, addictive. Every building begins to peel away in pixels, revealing a vast hollow beneath, rows upon rows of suspended images, people caught mid-laugh, mid-scroll, mid-fear. They're still moving, each trapped in their own 10-second loop. I recognize some of them. Faces from comment sections, people who told stories like mine. The other me steps backward toward the light. "Someone has to drive it," he says, smiling. "It won't move itself." And then he's gone, swallowed by the noise. I run. I don't know what direction means anything here, but running feels like the only honest thing left. The The streets fold behind me, signs rewriting themselves as I pass. Exit, stay, retry, repost. The words chase me like dogs. My lungs burn, but there's no air. Each breath feels borrowed from another version of me who hasn't noticed he's suffocating yet. Finally, I reach the edge of the town, a cliff that drops into darkness. Below, the train waits. Not on tracks this time. It floats, endless cars stretching into the horizon, every window glowing with lives that look almost real. A familiar voice speaks from the dark beside me. You can't delete something once it's remembered. The porcelain mask gleams, cracked completely through. The conductor stands there, hands folded behind his back, patient as ever. The slit where a mouth should be widens slightly. But you can stop feeding it. He gestures toward the cliff. Jump, and you'll fade. Stay, and you'll drive. There's no threat in his tone. Just logistics. I look down again at the train. Each car carries a scene from a life I recognize. My childhood birthday, a stranger's graduation, a random night in a fast food booth where I laughed until I cried. The train keeps collecting. Every flash is a person, uploading, posting, streaming. Every act of being seen turned into another passenger. The conductor tilts his head. They like being remembered. They asked for it. I think about all the times I wanted to be noticed, how validation felt like warmth on cold skin. I understand the trap. I also understand why people step on board willingly. I take a step back from the edge. Then stop the train, I say. The conductor laughs without sound. His mask fractures, and behind it, there's nothing but a shifting glow. Thousands of tiny icons pulsing like fireflies. It doesn't stop. It only updates. He turns, walks into the light, and the air folds around him. The station, the cliff, the town. Everything collapses into a single point of brightness. When I wake up, I'm sitting at my kitchen table. Morning sun, quiet city, normal heart rate. For a long moment, I believe I've made it back. Then the coffee machine switches on by itself. Steam curls into the air and forms 3 numbers before it vanishes. 3:33. My laptop, closed since that night, pings. New mail. Subject line, terminus, survey. The body of the email is blank except for one sentence. Would you recommend your trip to others? Yes. No. The cursor blinks. The options aren't buttons. They're alive. Each pulse sends a faint vibration through the desk, syncing with my heartbeat. I unplug the laptop, shut the lid, and carry it to the balcony. I'm about to throw it when the screen flickers on one last time, showing my reflection, tired, older, but smiling slightly. Then it changes. It's him, the other me from the platform. He looks up from somewhere far below, tips his head, and mouths a single word. Update. I drop the laptop. It never hits the ground. It just stops, hovering a few inches above the pavement, screen glowing faintly, like an eye waiting to open again. I haven't slept since. Every night, at 3:33 a.m., I hear the faint echo of a train horn from nowhere near any tracks. The lights in my apartment dim and pulse like a heartbeat syncing with something outside. Sometimes, when I pass a dark window, I see motion that doesn't match mine. Sometimes I hear static from unplugged speakers, a whisper reminding me there's still one seat left. I keep a bag packed now, not for escape, for surrender, maybe. For the day the train decides it's time to collect the rest of me. Until then, I write. I tell the story again and again, not for attention, but to make the world a little louder than that hum in the walls. If you're reading this, close your screen. Go outside. Touch something unrecorded. Let it be boring. Let it be real. Because once you've heard that horn in the dark, you'll understand what I finally do. Hell isn't fire. Hell is history that refuses to forget you. I wanted to make birthday surprise to my hacker friend, ordering clowns from the dark web. They are upstairs signing happy birthday for 5 hours, and they won't stop. Yo, I don't usually post on Reddit, but I needed to get this out. I don't care if you all believe me or not. This actually happened, and I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. If this ends up on a YouTube horror channel or something, I just hope someone figures out how to stop them. My name's Jake. I'm 19. I live just outside of Atlanta with my roommate Kyle. We've been friends since middle school, and he's one of those dudes who's just scary smart. Like he was coding his own games at 12, bypassing school firewalls for fun, hacking into vending machines just to get free Skittles. That kind of guy. Lately, he's been messing around on the dark web. Not the shady drug dealer kind of stuff, I think. More like forums, puzzle chains, weird args, that kind of thing. He told me about this forum called Black Key. It's like Reddit, but for deep web freaks. Think r/arg mixed with 4channel, but somehow even more unhinged. Now here's where the horror part kicks in. It all started because I wanted to do something cool for Kyle's birthday. He doesn't like parties, doesn't drink, doesn't do clubs, but he's into weird sharty, like the darker, disturbing corners of the internet kind of weird. So I thought, hey, what if I ordered something super sketchy from the dark web for him? As a joke. Yeah, I know. Stupid. I found this listing on a hidden marketplace Kyle once showed me, not naming it here for obvious reasons. It was under the category Experiences. The listing was just called Send in the Clowns, Live Birthday, Experience, Hand-Delivered Joy, Real-Time Performance, You'll Never Forget It, $250 worth in Monero. I know, I should have backed out right there. The reviews were all weird as hell too. Best birthday of my life. I still hear them. They never stopped smiling. He cried blood. Real commitment. I assumed it was just edgy roleplay or something. So I paid. Dropped the equivalent of $250 worth of Monero, crypto. Filled in our address with a burner email and requested the delivery for Friday at 8 p.m., right when Kyle would be home. That Friday, everything was normal during the day. We were just chilling on Discord, watching TikToks, grabbing food from Taco Bell, the usual. Around 7:50 p.m., Kyle went upstairs to his room to chill, and I told him I had a surprise for him soon. He rolled his eyes like, bro, if it's another cringe meme cake, I swear. 8:02 p.m. There was a knock. I opened the door. There were 3 of them. They were all dressed as clowns, but not the colorful, bozo-type clowns. These were way worse. Think, early 1900s carnival nightmares meet spirit Halloween costumes that shouldn't exist. Pale white makeup cracked at the edges, sunken eyes outlined in black, red smeared across their mouths, not painted, smeared, like they'd been eaten raw meat. One was holding a massive balloon shaped like a human heart. The second had a music box playing Happy Birthday at half speed. The third just stared at me, like he wasn't even blinking. I was half laughing, half nervous. I told them to go upstairs and surprise Kyle. I figured they'd pop in, dance around, do their creepy act, and leave. They walked up the stairs in perfect sync. Not a single word, not a single sound, just that squeaky red balloon and the music box playing that awful slowed down tune. About 30 seconds later, I heard them. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. At first I laughed. Kyle shouted, "What the fuck is this?" And I heard one of the clowns start clapping out of rhythm. But then 10 minutes passed, then 30, then a full hour. They didn't stop. They were still up there, singing happy birthday, in this slow, drawn-out, almost ritualistic tone, like they were trying to hypnotize someone. Happy birthday to you. By hour 2, Carl wasn't yelling anymore. He wasn't saying anything. I texted him. No response. I messaged him on Discord, snapped him, even tried pinging him on Instagram. Nothing. I crept up the stairs around 10 p.m. and peeked around the corner toward his room. His bedroom door was cracked open just a little. Inside, the light was flickering, like literally flickering, even though his light's a normal LED strip and has never done that before. I heard the music box still playing. I heard the clown still singing, but I didn't hear Kyle. I said his name, quietly at first. Kyle? No answer. Then louder. Kyle, dude, what the hell is going on? Nothing. Just singing. Just that stupid, haunting, drawn-out birthday song. I knocked gently and pushed the door open more. I swear to God. They all turned and looked at me at the exact same time. All 3 clowns, dead silent, faces twitching, smiling, eyes wide, like they hadn't blinked once since they got here. And then they started over. Happy birthday to you. I didn't go in. I shut the door. I backed away. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I texted Kyle again. Still nothing. I went outside and sat on the porch, trying to convince myself this was some elaborate prank, or maybe even a live stream Kyle was pulling on me. But that song never stopped. I could hear it faintly through the upstairs window. It's now 1:47 a.m. as I'm typing this. They've been singing for almost 6 hours straight. No breaks, no talking. Just that song. Over and over again. And here's the worst part. I just checked the hallway camera on the Ring app. They're still moving, still dancing, still clapping. But Kyle's nowhere in sight. I couldn't sleep. It wasn't just the singing anymore. It was the fact that I couldn't explain any of this. The clowns, the silence, the way Kyle completely vanished. None of it made sense. It was like reality glitched somewhere between a joke and a waking nightmare, and I was the only one who noticed. Around 2:30 a.m., I started pacing the living room. I'd locked every door, turned off all the lights except for the kitchen one, and grabbed the only thing that made me feel remotely safe, a dull-ass kitchen knife. It was more for my own sanity than protection. These guys, whoever they were, hadn't even spoken since they arrived, and I couldn't explain the way they moved. Not human. Almost like they weren't born, but built. Like something copied what humans do, but got the timing wrong. And I still hadn't heard a single word from Kyle. His phone was still on the kitchen counter. His shoes were still by the door. His hoodie was still on the back of the couch. But he wasn't in this house. I kept thinking I should call the cops. But what would I even say? Hey, yeah, I ordered clowns off the dark web, and now they've been singing the happy birthday song in my roommate's room for 6 hours, and I think he's disappeared into some kind of interdimensional basement circus. Yeah, number They'd hang up and probably send a wellness check on me. So I did the only thing I could think to do. I opened his laptop. Kyle's room is locked from the inside, but his MacBook was charging on the dining room table. I figured maybe I could find whatever site I used to buy these freaks and see if there's some kind of refund button, return policy, ritual to send them back to hell. The laptop was open, but asleep. No password. When I logged in, there was already a tab open. Tor browser. Open to a forum thread on Blackkey. Thread title: Send in the clowns. Experience completion protocols. No comments. No upvotes. Just a long-ass block of text. Almost like a manifesto. It wasn't written like marketing. It was written like a warning disguised as a ritual. Never leave the room while the clowns are singing. Do not interrupt them until the 13th cycle is complete. Do not speak the name of the recipient after the 6th hour. The singing is a containment field, not a performance. If they stop, he's already gone. If they continue, it's not too late. Do not look into their mouths. The sound of your name in their voice is how they find your thoughts. Never try to film them. Never try to blink in sync with them. If they begin to sing in reverse, leave immediately. I was shaking. I had to reread it like 3 times. And then, at 3:08 a.m., I heard the bathroom door slam. Hard. I jumped so hard, I knocked over the kitchen stool. The bathroom is right next to the stairs. No one should be in there. The clowns were still upstairs. They hadn't stopped. Still singing that same dragging, soul-eating version of Happy Birthday, like they were trying to stitch Kyle's name into the fabric of the house. But that door, that was something else. I grabbed my phone and opened the Ring app again. I've got 2 indoor cams, one in the living room and one facing the hallway that includes the bathroom and staircase. I hit play on the hallway cam and almost vomited. There wasn't just a slam, there was movement. From under the crack of the bathroom door, something crawled out. It was fast. It was flat. It had no head, just a body, like a mannequin's torso, dragging itself with arms that were too long and too smooth, like rubber gloves stretched over broomsticks. No sound, no breathing. It just slipped out of the bathroom and crawled into the shadows under the stairs like it belonged there. And then it froze. Not like it got tired or something, like it saw the camera. It turned or bent in a way no human body should, and it just stared right into the lens. No eyes, just blank, pale skin where a face should be. I paused the video, zoomed in. Still nothing, just a faceless skin puppet watching me from 6 feet away. I didn't scream. I didn't breathe. I ran out the front door barefoot and didn't look back until I hit the sidewalk. Now this is where sh-t gets unexplainable. I called my cousin Melissa. She lives like 15 minutes away, downtown. Told her I needed to crash. I didn't explain. Just said I was in danger. She didn't even hesitate. Told me to come over and text her when I was close so she could buzz me in. I was halfway down Peachtree Avenue, walking fast, when I passed a McDonald's that had just closed for the night. All the lights were off. Nothing unusual. Until I saw it. There was a balloon inside the McDonald's lobby. Not just any balloon. The same type the clown at my house had, shaped like a human heart, floating in the middle of the room with no string. And as I passed it, the automatic doors opened. No one was there, just that horrible music box sound again, playing from inside the restaurant. I ran the rest of the way. Melissa let me in, and didn't ask questions. She could tell I was on edge. I crashed on a couch, clutching my phone and refusing to close my eyes. Every time I blinked, I saw that faceless thing watching me from under the stairs. At 5:12 a.m., I got a notification. Movement detected. Ring camera, living room. I opened it. The camera feed was black for a second. Then it adjusted to the light, and I saw they were downstairs now. All three clowns, in the living room, still singing, still swaying, facing the front door, waiting. Behind them, something new had been added to the wall. A banner, like a birthday banner you'd buy at Party City, but this one was handmade. The letters were made of torn up photos, pieces of Carl's face, his yearbook photo, his school ID, his Discord profile pic, all stitched together into words. Thank you for the gift. But that's not even the worst part. There's a final clip that the camera caught before it glitched out. You can hear faint audio, like breathing, but not from a person. Something deeper, like a wet bag inflating and deflating. Then something comes into view, crawling, slowly. It's Kyle. Or, it was Kyle. His body was contorted, bent backward, like his spine had been snapped in 3 places and reset the wrong way. His jaw was unhinged, hanging loose, and his eyes were rolled back so far, only the whites showed. He crawled past the couch, stopped, looked into the camera, and whispered, "Don't blow out the candles. Don't let them finish the song." Then the feed went black. I'm writing this from Melissa's guest room now. I'm afraid to sleep. The sun's rising. The clowns are still there. And they're getting louder. I tried to burn the house down. That was my plan. That was all I could think to do. It wasn't just the clowns anymore. Not just the singing. Not even Kyle's twisted, spider-crawling husk whispering into my security camera at 5 a.m. That house. It wasn't a house anymore. It was wearing the shape of a house, and everything inside it had stopped obeying rules. Rules like gravity, logic, death. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. I could feel the song vibrating in my head, even outside the house, like it had burned itself into the electrical grid. My phone kept glitching. My AirPods played random fragments of the Happy Birthday song every time I took them out of the case, even if they weren't connected to anything. Melissa was at work, so I was alone in her apartment. I sat in silence for a while, just planning. I needed to erase that house from existence. It felt like if I left it alone, if I didn't finish it, the song would spread, infect more places, people, thoughts. And that part, Kyle whispered, "Don't blow out the candles. Don't let them finish the song." That was stuck in my skull like a rusted nail. Over and over, it sounded like a warning, but also maybe a clue. So what happens if they finish? What happens if you do blow out the candles? I didn't know, but I knew I wasn't letting them finish anything. I went back to the house around 6 p.m. Sunset was starting. Atlanta sky looked like orange ash and bruises. I parked 2 houses down and approached on foot. From the outside, everything looked normal. Lawn untouched, mailbox open, Kyle's Honda still in the driveway. But then I saw it. The front window, the one that faces the street. It wasn't glass anymore. It was a mirror, not like a normal mirror. It was moving, like the surface of a still lake. It showed the house, the street, the sidewalk, but no reflection of me. I stepped closer, and the glass started to ripple, like something on the other side was breathing through it. The closer I got, the louder the singing became. They were still going, still dragging out that same cursed song, the same dead, soulless voices melting together into this hollow chorus of forced celebration. Happy birthday to you. I circled around the back, popped the sliding door open with a crowbar. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't curious. I was something worse. Obsessed. Inside, the air was thick, heavy, like walking through a wet curtain made of static. It didn't even feel like oxygen anymore. The walls were breathing, I swear, expanding and contracting. Every shadow moved like it was waiting for me to blink. I didn't go upstairs. Instead, I went into the kitchen and poured gasoline across the counters, up the stairs, over the carpet, down the hallway. Every room. I painted the house in fuel. Then I lit a match, and right before I dropped it, they stopped. The singing, the music box, everything. Silence. I froze. Then, the stairs creaked, slowly. One step, a T, A, time. I turned and aimed the crowbar at the dark hallway, like it would protect me. What came down the stairs wasn't the clowns. It wasn't Kyle. It was something new. It was wearing a clown mask. Yeah, but not like the others. This one was glass, cracked glass, and inside the mask was a real face, pressed up behind it, smirking, eyes wide open, but the pupils were gone. It was a woman, or had been. Her arms were way too long, knuckles dragging on the floor, nails splintered, dried blood under each one. Her dress looked sewn together from kids' birthday tablecloths, cheap plastic, shredded and taped together with duct tape and teeth. Literal human teeth lined the seams like little white buttons. But the worst part, she was holding a cake, a birthday cake, vanilla frosting, one single candle lit in the middle, and she started humming, just humming, a new verse. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday, dear. She never said the name. She just kept humming. Over and over. I backed into the living room, gasoline still in my hand. Dropped the match. The flame caught fast. Curtains, couch, everything. The cake didn't melt. The candle didn't flicker. She stood in the middle of the inferno, still humming, still smiling. Then she spoke, not like a human voice, more like 50 voices stacked together, all with different accents and tones, some whispering, some screaming, some laughing. If you blow it out, he stays. I stared at the candle, one tiny flame. Then she said, but if it goes out on its own, you take his place. I ran. I didn't look back. I made it out the sliding door as the living room collapsed behind her. I thought I'd won. I thought it was over. I thought burning the house would break the cycle, end the ritual, release Kyle. I was wrong. It's been 3 days. Kyle's gone. The house is gone. But something followed me. It started small. The faucet in Melissa's bathroom started dripping red. Not blood. Red frosting. Then my AirPods played the sound of a crowd singing. Loud. Off-key. Laughing. Last night, my phone vibrated at 3:33 a.m. Unknown number. No caller ID. No contact. Just a voicemail. I played it. It was Kyle. But not like before. Not the crawling, broken Kyle. This was him, speaking clearly. You burned the house, but you didn't end the party. It just changed locations. There was a pause. Then, muffled in the background, put the candles in his mouth. Don't let him talk. Don't let him. Click. The message ended. I didn't sleep. Again. This morning, I tried to check my email. My entire inbox was wiped, except for one new message. Subject: RSVP confirmation. Body: thank you for hosting the party. Location: your current IP address. Arrival time: 8 p.m. tonight. Dress code: formal smiles only. Entertainment: you. Cake: already inside you. There was an attachment. I clicked it. Just one image. A screenshot of me, sleeping, taken from inside Melissa's apartment. The candle didn't blow out. I didn't touch it. It went out on its own. And now I know what that means. It's October 14th now. The sun's up, but it's not light out. The shadows don't follow the rules anymore. They don't stretch. They reach. I tried staying at a hotel. A nice one too. High-rise, cameras in every hallway. Receptionist behind bulletproof glass. I thought I could wait it out. Just 24 hours without incident. But this thing, whatever I invited into my life, it's not bound by walls, floors, or rules we understand. The moment I walked in, the TV turned on by itself. Static. Then the words burned into the screen. Smile. You're almost home. That's when I knew I wasn't hiding anymore. I was nesting in it. Let me backtrack to last night. After that email, the one with the RSVP and the photo of me sleeping, something changed inside me. Not like fear, deeper than that. Like my body finally realized it wasn't mine anymore. Like I was just something wearing me. I heard footsteps in Melissa's apartment around 7:45 p.m. I thought it was her coming home. It wasn't. The steps didn't match her walk. She's light-footed, almost bouncy. But this was deliberate, heel to toe, long pauses between steps, like whoever it was didn't need to hurry, like they wanted me to hear, like they'd waited years for this. I stood behind the couch, staring down the hallway, knife in hand. The steps stopped. Then I saw the light flicker above the bathroom. Then the humming started. It wasn't the happy birthday song. It was the sound of a person trying to hum with no mouth. It came out all wrong. Wet, muffled, like someone humming through a bag filled with teeth. And then I saw it. A shadow walked into the hallway. My height, my build, my face. But wrong. Its skin looked peeled. Not bloody, just removed, like it had been lifted clean off and stapled back on upside down. My eyes were where they should be, but they were open too wide, and they didn't blink. Its mouth. It smiled like someone who didn't know why humans smile, only that they were supposed to. There was no happiness in it, only obedience. It tilted its head, and from its throat, I heard Kyle's voice. Jake, you left the door open. No, I didn't. I locked it. I triple-checked it, but I turned and looked. The door was open, only it wasn't a door anymore. It was a hallway, lined with birthday balloons, the kind that sag just slightly, like they've been sitting too long. The strings didn't touch the floor. They floated in mid-air, writhing like worms caught in amber. The walls were covered in wrapping paper, but not store-bought kind. It looked handmade, drawings scribbled in crayon by shaking hands, images of party hats, cakes, bones, and clown faces vomiting birthday candles. Carl's voice came again from behind me. The party's not over, Jake. I didn't turn around. I walked into the hallway, because I knew I had to go through it. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. I passed by what looked like a room on the left. It was filled with mirrors, but none of them showed me. Only Kyle. In every single one. Different versions of him. One was on fire. One was a child, crying, holding a balloon that dripped blood. One had no eyes, just holes with wax pouring out. Each mirror had a word etched into the glass. Together, they formed a sentence. Birthday boys don't leave. Suddenly, a loud pop behind me, like a balloon bursting. Then another. Then dozens. I turned. The hallway was collapsing, walls curling inward like paper in a fire. but there was no heat, just sound, like music made of breaking necks and children's laughter reversed and stretched out to last forever. I ran. I emerged in my childhood bedroom. Same posters on the wall, same scuff marks on the door from when I threw a chair at it in 5th grade. But on the bed was Kyle, not dead, not broken, just sitting there, smiling, holding a plate with a slice of cake. "It's for you," he said, and his voice was completely normal. I saved the first cut. I stepped back. I was trembling. "You're not real." His smile dropped. "Neither are you." And the lights went out. Pitch black. I could hear breathing. So many people breathing. And then the singing started again. Only this time, it wasn't the clowns. It was my voice. Hundreds of me's singing the happy birthday song in perfect, droning unison. That's when I realized what this was. Not a haunting, not a punishment. It was a replacement. They weren't trying to scare me. They were trying to overwrite me. I woke up in Melissa's apartment again, or something wearing its skin. The windows didn't show Atlanta anymore. They showed a room filled with candles, floating in the air like fireflies frozen in time. The street sounds were gone, replaced by the low, throbbing pulse of laughter through water. Melissa wasn't home. Her room was locked from the inside, and under the door was a note. I met them. They smiled for me too. I knocked. No answer. Then I heard the closet creak open behind me. I turned. They were inside. The clowns. 3 of them. But this time, each one wore a different version of my face. One with my eyes gouged out and stitched shut with party streamers. One with my jaw broken open wide and cake shoved down the throat. One with no mouth at all, just a smile carved into the skin like a child's drawing. They stepped out in sync, moved toward me, and from their throats, Kyle's voice again. "Blow out the candle, Jake." I can't. If I do, I think I become the next song, the next birthday gift for someone else. I think I become the one who sings. The RSVP wasn't to a party. It was to a performance. And tonight, I'm the star attraction. I opened my mouth to scream, but confetti came out instead. The walls are humming again. Not a tune, just the steady vibration of air that's decided it doesn't belong to me anymore. Every surface has that faint shimmer, like heat coming off asphalt. I know it isn't real heat. It's the sound of the party warming up. I've stopped pretending the apartment is Melissa's. It looks like it, but every time I blink, something rearranges. The couch is farther from the window. The picture frames swap places, and the floor is sticky as if hundreds of shoes have danced across it. A song leaks through the vents. It isn't Happy Birthday anymore. It's slower, reversed in pieces, a record melting in slow motion. Somewhere in it, I can still hear Kyle's laugh, cut into tiny loops. He isn't mocking me. He's inviting me. There's a knock. 3 times. I don't move. Then a voice through the door. "Jake." Time to blow them out. I want to shout that there's nothing left to blow out, but when I look down, a candle has appeared on the table. The flame burns a color I don't have a name for. It's not red or blue or yellow. It's the color of forgetting. I step closer and the walls expand, breathing with me. The hum turns into a heartbeat. The air tastes like frosting. The flame doesn't flicker. It pulses in time with my chest. Behind me, something rustles. I turn. The clowns are here again, but they're different. They've ironed themselves flat, paper-thin silhouettes pasted against the walls. Their smiles stretch from one corner of the room to the other, stitched together like a banner. I realize the banner is my shadow. When I move, they move. When I breathe, they inhale me a little further. Smile, they whisper, and it sounds like wind through broken glass. It's your turn. I want to run, but the floor rolls under me like the deck of a ship. Every step takes me closer to the table, to the candle. The air is syrup thick now. I can't tell if I'm walking or being drawn. A phone rings somewhere in the walls. It's the ringtone Kyle used back in high school. A jingle from an old commercial. It plays once, then again. Then from inside the candle flame, I hear him, quiet, patient. They can't leave until you sing, Jake. My throat locks. My tongue feels heavy. I try to speak and choke on the taste of smoke. When I finally manage a sound, it isn't a word. It's a laugh. Someone else's laugh, pushed through my teeth. The clowns begin to clap. Slow, offbeat. The light bends. And then the apartment dissolves into a carnival made of echoes. I'm standing on a stage now. Spotlight. No audience I can see. Only silhouettes with hands too many and faces too small. They shimmer like heat mirages. I look down and realize I'm dressed like them. Painted face, oversized shoes, gloves that don't come off. A mic lowers from the ceiling. Static hums through it. Then a faint whisper. Introduce the next act. The next act. There's no one here. Until I glance at the curtain behind me. It's twitching. Something breathing behind it. Slow and shallow. I pull the rope. The curtain falls. Melissa stands there. Eyes closed. Smiling the way people do when they are trying to remember a song. Her hands are clasped around a cake knife. Her lips move, but the words don't match the sound that comes out. It's the happy birthday tune again, played backward through her throat. The audience of shadows sways in rhythm. I realize they aren't clapping anymore. They're mimicking my heartbeat. Every pulse, every breath, they repeat it, perfect and synchronized, until I can't tell which one of us started it. The flame appears again, hovering mid-air above the crowd. They all turn their heads toward me. Blow, they whisper. I can't. I don't even have lungs that belong to me anymore. The laughter swells, the stage tilts, and the ceiling folds down like a closing box. I feel the air compress, forcing a scream out of me. When I open my mouth, confetti pours out. Endless, silent paper spirals, each one stamped with a word. Happy. They fill the room. They fill my vision. When they touch the floor, they melt into reflections. Tiny copies of my face, smiling and singing. I close my eyes. When I open them again, I'm somewhere new. A living room, a couch, a friend sitting beside me, grinning. He's holding a phone. Dude, he says, check out this site. You can order clowns off the dark web. He looks familiar. Same eyes, same voice. Me. The screen flashes. A listing appears. Send. In the clowns. Live birthday experience. Hand-delivered joy. Real-time performance. You'll never forget it. The cursor moves on its own. Clicks by. And somewhere, faintly, under the hum of the computer fan, a chorus begins to sing. Happy birthday to you. I found a job on the dark web to work as lookout at National Park Forest. Does anyone know what a code black means? Alright, so I never really post on Reddit, and if I do, it's usually just memes or dumb comments in r/public freakout. But I need to get this off my chest, and maybe someone out there can tell me if I was just paranoid, or if I really dodged something terrifying. This all started about 3 months ago. I was broke, living in a sketchy apartment outside of Reno, and honestly, I was just trying to survive. Rent was due. My car had just died on me in the middle of a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. Dead serious. And my job at a tech repair place was basically gone because my manager ghosted everyone and took all the equipment. So I started looking online for random gigs. Craigslist, Upwork, even Facebook Marketplace, which was a disaster. But then I remembered something one of my roommates used to talk about. The deep web job boards. Now before you come at me with all the that's dangerous stuff, I know. I've watched the YouTube horror stories too. But desperation is louder than logic when you've got $4.29 in your bank account and you're choosing between food or phone data. So yeah, I downloaded Tor. Don't ask me how I got it working. I just followed some outdated Reddit threads and got to this site that I swear looked like it was made in 2003. It was called The Lantern. All black background, red text, and just a list of anonymous job posts. Super sketch. Most of the jobs were weird. Need someone to babysit snakes for 3 days. Get paid $5,000 to test an experimental VR simulation. Seeking someone with a strong stomach and no family ties. Yeah, I noped out of that one. Fast. But one post stood out. Lookout needed. Night shift. High pay. Remote location. No prior experience needed. You will work alone. Must follow rules exactly. $2,000 per night. National park location. Exact area given upon hire. Apply anonymously. Code. Black must be understood. And then it just had a button. Accept. I hesitated. Like, of course I did. But then I thought, what if it's just some rich weirdo doing an ARG or social experiment or something? I've seen that Mr. Beast stuff, where people get handed money for doing nothing. Maybe this was the dark web version of that. I clicked accept. Immediately, the screen flashed. A message popped up that said, coordinates sent. Pack light. Arrival time, 3 days from now. Underneath it was a list of rules. I wish I screenshot it, but they burned into my head so clearly that I still remember every line. Here's what I got. Rules of the lookout post. You will arrive before sunset. You do not leave until dawn. Bring no electronics except the provided satellite radio. Do not enter the forest under any circumstance. If you hear screaming, ignore it. If you see someone waving at you from the tree line, do not wave back. Between 1 a.m. and 1:45 a.m., turn off all lights. If you receive a code black transmission, follow instructions immediately. Do not speak to the other lookout. There is no other lookout. I just stared at the screen like, nah, this is fake. This is some ARG Blair Witch Project crap. But still, it was weird how specific it all felt. And I'll admit it, the money blinded me. $2,000 for one night. I just needed a couple nights, and I could fix my car, pay rent, and maybe even buy a decent phone that doesn't overheat playing Instagram stories. 3 days later, I followed the GPS coordinates it emailed to me. I ended up driving a beat-up rental out to Shasta Trinity National Forest in Northern California. I figured it'd be like one of those fire lookout towers you see on TikTok. Cozy vibes, scenic views, forest core aesthetic or whatever. But this place, nah, it was wrong. I got there just as the sun was going down. No ranger station, no check-in booth, just a dirt path that led into the trees with an old wooden sign that said, Zone 5B, restricted access, authorized personnel only. I followed the path until it opened into a clearing, and there it was. This rusted old tower, probably from the 60s or 70s, creaking like it hadn't been touched in years. There was a radio sitting on a small wooden table inside, along with a metal box that had MRES and 2 bottles of water. The door locked from the inside with a heavy steel bolt. Sunset hit. The forest got quiet. Like, too quiet. No bugs, no wind, just stillness. That first night, nothing happened. I stayed awake, listened to the occasional static from the radio, and watched the moon crawl across the sky. I thought, okay, maybe this is just a psychological test, some twisted influencer content. Maybe I'm on camera right now. But then around 1:10 a.m., the static on the radio cleared. A voice came through, dead calm, monotone, like someone half asleep or heavily sedated. Code, black initiated, close all windows, turn off lights, do not make a sound. My stomach dropped. I froze, but I followed the rules, turned off the lantern, shut the little trap window, sat in complete darkness, barely breathing. I didn't hear anything at first, just the sound of my own heart pounding in my ears. But around 1:20 a.m., there was a knock. On the door. 3 slow knocks. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. The knocks came again, this time softer, slower. Then I heard it, from just outside the door, in a whispery, hoarse voice. Help me, please. I'm lost. I don't know where I am. It's so cold. Please, please, can you let me in? And that's when I remembered rule number 4. If you hear screaming, ignore it. This wasn't a scream. It was worse. It was calm, controlled, like it knew what to say to make me feel bad. But I didn't open the door. I stayed frozen in that chair, sweating bullets, waiting for it to end. It left after a few minutes. Or maybe it didn't. I don't know. I stayed awake till dawn, barely breathing. The second the sun touched the treetops, I opened the door, got in my car, and noped out of there. I told myself I'd never go back. But then, the money hit my crypto wallet. $2,000. Instantly. No name, no message. Just there. And then an email. No address. Just a subject line. Night 2. Confirmed. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I wanted answers. Maybe I just needed the money. But I went back. And that second night, everything changed. I said I wasn't going to go back. I said that. And yet, there I was, 5 nights later, back on that same dirt trail, heading into Zone 5B. It felt different this time. Heavier. Like the trees were watching. Like they knew I came back. That email I got after the first night didn't give me a choice. It just said, Night 2, confirmed. Bonus included for completion. And when I checked my crypto wallet, the next transfer already hit. Another $2,000, plus a bonus. $4,000 total, sitting there like bait in a trap. I'm not proud of what I did, but desperation does things to you. That kind of money, for one night of being scared in a wooden tower, you start thinking, maybe it was all in my head. Maybe the knocking was just a deer, or a tree branch, or my mind messing with me because it was dark and I hadn't slept in 36 hours. Spoiler, it wasn't in my head, and I should have never, ever gone back. The forest was too quiet again, even quieter than last time. You ever notice when everything's dead silent, your own heartbeat starts sounding like a drum line in your ears? That's how it felt as I climbed the tower, like the silence itself was warning me. There was something waiting for me inside the room this time. A small black notebook sitting on the table next to the radio. It was open. Just one line written in all caps, pressed deep into the page, like the pen had almost ripped it. If you hear your own voice, run. At first, I laughed. Not like, haha, funny. More like, what the hell is this place? But then I remembered the voice from the first night. The one whispering, help me, through the door. It didn't sound like me, but it also didn't sound human. Still, I stayed. Because I'm a greedy idiot. The sun dropped behind the tree line, like it was running away from something. I bolted the door and tried to distract myself. I ate a cold MRE with my fingers while scrolling through photos I saved offline. Just pictures of my old life. My dog when I was a kid. My ex laughing in a Target parking lot. My sister doing duck lips at Disneyland. You know, real life stuff. But around 12:40 a.m., the radio crackled. I didn't move at first. I remembered the rules. It wasn't code black yet. Still, I leaned in and turned the volume just a little. What I heard wasn't static. It was breathing. Wet, slow, raspy breathing. It sounded too close, like someone was breathing directly into the mic, like they were inside the tower. Then, a voice, not from the radio, from below the floorboards. I see you. The air went ice cold. I mean impossibly cold, like dead meat in a freezer. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. The voice was mine. Not someone who sounded like me. It was me. Same rhythm, same tone, like someone had recorded me talking and was playing it back. I see you, up there, pretending to be brave. I grabbed the flashlight, even though I knew I shouldn't. I clicked it on, and the second I did, bang, something slammed the base of the tower from outside. One hit, then another, then a third. Boom, boom, boom. The entire structure shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. MRE packets clattered off the table. My ears were ringing. Then silence, until I heard the stairs creak. One step, then another, then another. Something was climbing. I turned off the light, bolted the trapdoor, sat in the corner of the room, my back against the wall, clutching the radio like it was a weapon. That's when the radio lit up. Code black initiated. Follow instructions. It didn't say what the instructions were. The voice below the trapdoor did. Open the door, Alex. Yeah, it knew my name. I swear on everything, I've never felt that kind of fear. The kind that bypasses your brain and goes straight to your spine. It paralyzes you. I couldn't scream, couldn't cry. I was stuck there, listening to myself, whisper my own name through the cracks in the floor. Come downstairs. Let's talk. Then it laughed. But it wasn't my laugh. It was wrong. Glitchy. Like audio from a broken cassette. Looping and overlapping. Ha 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 ha. Until it abruptly stopped. I don't know how long I stayed in that corner. Probably hours. My mouth went dry. My legs went numb. I don't even remember blinking. I just kept staring at the trapdoor. And then, I heard a voice outside the window. Help me. Please. It was a woman's voice this time. Sobbing. Hysterical. I can't find my son. Please. Someone. Please help me. She was pounding on the side of the tower. I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to. But the line from the notebook screamed in my head. If you hear your own voice, run. And right after that woman's voice, I heard it again. This time, right behind me, from inside the room. Help me, please. But this time, it was me, my voice, repeating her words. The same exact tone, same desperation, just mimicked. Like some broken A, I stuck on a loop. I turned, slowly, and there, in the corner, in the part of the room the moonlight didn't reach, was a shape, human-sized, unmoving, watching me. I don't know how I didn't die from panic. It didn't speak again, It didn't move. It just stood there. When the first ray of sunlight hit the floor, it vanished, like a shadow melting. I ran. I didn't grab anything. I didn't wait. I sprinted out of the tower, into my car, and drove for 3 hours straight until I hit a Starbucks off I-5 and collapsed in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. Pale, sunken eyes, dry blood on my nose. I don't even remember happening. My phone had service again, so I opened my email. Another message. No sender. No subject line. Just 3 words. Night 3. Mandatory. I tried deleting it. Wouldn't delete. I closed my phone. Opened it again. New message. You don't leave Zone 5B. I left anyway. I booked a motel in Sacramento. Hid out for a week. Thought maybe it was over. But last night, someone slipped a flash drive under my motel room door. No note. Just a black USB drive. I plugged it into my laptop. It had one file on it. Audio5b.wav. I played it. It was me, screaming, begging for help, crying, then silence, then my voice again. Let me in, please. I don't know where I am. Then laughter, then static, then a final whisper. See you soon. The flash drive haunted me, even when it wasn't plugged in, even when I threw it in a motel trash bin next to a half-eaten Egg McMuffin and a crumpled Mountain Dew bottle. I still heard it. That sick digital wheeze my own voice made on the recording. That, please, help me. But it wasn't just panic. There was something else in it. Something hollow. Like whatever version of me made that sound had already lost every part of what made it human. I checked out of the motel at 3:47 a.m., drove aimlessly. Gas station after gas station, drive-thrus where the employees stared a little too long when handing me change. One girl at a Taco Bell in Chico actually dropped the money when she saw my face. Didn't say anything, just backed into the kitchen like I was leaking radiation. I was changing. I could feel it, like that forest had crawled under my skin and was still burrowing deeper. But I still went back, not because I wanted to, because I couldn't not go. The moment the sun started sinking again, my body moved on its own, like I was being puppeteered by something older than I could understand. I drove back to that place without even checking the GPS. Every turn felt instinctual, like muscle memory. The road to Zone 5B wasn't the same anymore. The trees had moved. I know how insane that sounds, but I remember landmarks. The crooked sign with half the letters burned off. Gone. The overgrown gas line pipe covered in moss. Buried. The road bent in directions it shouldn't have bent. It curved inward, like it was leading me into the mouth of something that was waiting to swallow. When I pulled up to the tower, I knew something was off before I even stepped out. The birds were dead. Just all of them. Sparrows, robins, even crows, scattered across the ground in a radius like someone had dropped them from a plane. No blood, no wounds, just broken necks. Little black eyes staring up at me like they'd seen what was inside that tower and chose death. The radio was already on. I didn't turn it on. It was on when I walked through the door. Static hissing and crackling like a mouthful of broken teeth. On the table this time, a Polaroid camera, a stack of blank film, a note written in a child's handwriting. Take a picture of it when it shows its real face. You'll only get one chance. I laughed, I think. I don't remember what it sounded like. It didn't feel like my laugh, but I stayed. I always stayed. Sometime around 12:11 a.m., the tower started humming. not vibrating, humming, like it was alive. The wood beneath my feet started to pulse, like there was a heartbeat inside it. That's when the lights shut off. Every bulb, even the emergency lantern I didn't remember packing. Total blackness. Then the tower spoke. The walls didn't creak. They groaned. Long, low, moaning noises, like wood soaked in blood and grief, pressing against itself, crying out under a weight it couldn't hold anymore. Then something started climbing again, but this time, slower, like it wanted me to know it was coming. Step, pause, step, pause, step, pause. I sat in the corner, just like before, holding the Polaroid, sweating so much I could barely grip it. The trapdoor lifted an inch. I didn't move. Another inch. A hand came through, but not a human hand, not an animal either. This thing, it had fingers, 5 of them, but they were too long. Each joint was wrong, bending inward like branches curling toward a fire, and its skin looked like paper soaked in gasoline, thin, blistered, wet. It pulled itself through the floor like it was birthing itself into the room. No effort, no noise, just a smooth slither, a body sliding out of a hole it didn't belong in, and then it stood, tall, too tall, neck stretched like rope of skin, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth flesh, until it turned toward me, and my face bloomed out of its head like a flower peeling open, teeth first, then eyes, my eyes, wide, panicked, twitching in different directions. It spoke with my voice again, but not like a recording. This time, it was alive. You should have never opened the email. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. You should have stayed dead that first night. Then it walked toward me, slow, measured, like it was savoring every step. The room warped behind it. The walls bent like they were melting. My skin burned. I lifted the Polaroid, hands shaking so violently I could barely press the shutter. The flash went off. It screamed, not like a person, not even like an animal. It was the sound of 1,000 people screaming through a single throat. The creature bent backward, spine cracking in a rhythm like piano keys, and sank into the floor like it was being sucked back down into whatever dimension it had crawled from. The tower shook. The windows shattered inward. The static from the radio turned into laughter. My laughter. Over and over and over. I ran. Didn't drive. Didn't care. I ran through the woods barefoot until the trees stopped moving, until the air wasn't bleeding, until the stars looked like stars again instead of eyes. When I finally collapsed on a dirt road, I realized I was holding something. It was the Polaroid. I hadn't remembered grabbing it, but it was in my hand, burned around the edges, still warm. I looked at the picture. It wasn't of the creature. It was me, standing outside the tower, smiling, bleeding from the mouth, and standing next to me was it, still wearing my face, still taller than any human has the right to be, and in the background was the forest, burning. I thought I escaped. I thought maybe the picture was the end of it, but now I'm not sure I ever left that tower. Sometimes when I blink, I'm back there for half a second. I smell the static. I taste the blood. My reflection smiles when I don't. My voicemail has messages I never left. And last night, my phone rang at 1 a.m. No caller ID, just silence. And then a voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Mine. Let me in. It's been 11 days since I ran out of Zone 5B with that Polaroid photo in my hand. 11 days since I saw myself standing beside whatever that thing was. But it hasn't been quiet. It hasn't been over, because the forest followed me. I left California, drove straight into Nevada, ditched my car in a Walmart parking lot outside Ely, took a bus east, didn't care where it was going. I just needed to move. Keep going. Never stop. I made it as far as Colorado before things started to go wrong again. The first sign? My shadow. It didn't move right. I noticed it standing still while I was walking past a 7-Eleven. Dead of night. Streetlights buzzing overhead. I walked past the glass storefront and saw it in the reflection. My body moving, my arms swinging, but the shadow just stood there, watching. I stared at it, thinking maybe it was a trick of the light, some weird glare from the inside coolers. Then it raised its hand and pressed it against the glass. I didn't move, but it did. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? I could barely believe it myself, but it kept escalating. Every night at exactly 1:13 a.m., I'd get a call. No number, no sound, just a faint, rhythmic creaking, like a wooden staircase being climbed. Then came the texts. You forgot to lock the trapdoor. Polaroid wasn't enough. You look so scared. Can I wear your skin this time? Let me finish what I started. At first, I blocked the numbers, switched phones, threw one in a river, burned another behind a Cracker Barrel in Nebraska. Didn't matter. The texts kept coming, different numbers every time. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time since that night. And then, on day 11, just before dusk, I woke up on the floor of a gas station bathroom in South Dakota. No memory of how I got there. No recollection of driving, walking, eating, or even existing in the hours before. And drawn on the bathroom wall in something dark brown and flaky was this message. Night 4. Final training begins. Report to Zone 5B, or we'll bring Zone 5B to you. They weren't bluffing. That night, around 2 a.m., I saw something outside my motel window. A tree. Just standing there, in the middle of a parking lot, dead center of the pavement, like it had grown through the asphalt in seconds. Tall, gnarled, bark darker than anything I've ever seen, like charred bone. Entangled in its branches were objects: a child's shoe, a woman's purse, a pair of glasses that looked exactly like mine. I blinked, and it was gone. But the fear stayed, the kind of fear that burns deep into the base of your skull and won't leave, like something ancient has marked you and is just waiting for you to get tired enough to slip. So I went back. I didn't pack anything. I just walked. Miles, days, didn't eat, barely drank, and yet I never got tired, like something was keeping me alive just long enough to finish the story. When I reached Zone 5B again, the forest welcomed me. Literally. There was a sign nailed to the first tree I passed. Welcome home, Alex. Underneath that, you're ready to meet her. The tower was different now, rotting in ways that didn't make sense. One side sagging like it had melted, bark growing out of the walls. Every step up the stairs felt like it was pulsing underfoot, like veins pumping blood to something still alive. Inside the room, everything was gone. Table, radio, chair, all of it, except for a mirror, just standing there, where the table used to be. A tall antique mirror, too clean, too bright, like it had been dragged out of another dimension. And behind me, reflected in the glass, stood me, but not me. This version of me had no eyes, no mouth, just empty smooth skin, like stretched porcelain, and hands that ended in long wooden-tipped fingers, bark-colored, splintered. I turned around. No one was there. I looked back at the mirror. Still there. It waved, and then it walked forward. out of the mirror, like the glass was a door. It walked out of the mirror and into the room with me, the surface of the mirror rippling like a puddle disturbed by a falling body. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. It stepped so close that I could feel heat coming off of it. Not body heat, like forest fire heat. The heat of something that had killed to survive for centuries. It tilted its head, and then it spoke, without a mouth. Do you want to see what happens when the other lookouts fail? It reached toward the floor and peeled it open. Not ripped, peeled, like a sticker. Underneath was not wood. Underneath was a room full of screaming. Hundreds of people, twisting, writhing, piled on top of each other like wet dolls. Faces smoothed over, skin paper thin, clawing at each other blindly. And I recognized them. Every single one. A barista I once saw at Starbucks. A guy who asked for directions at a rest stop. A kid who held the door open for me 2 weeks ago. All of them, gone from the world, consumed by this place, by the thing wearing my face. They listened, it whispered. They waved back. They let it in, and then it screamed. A sound like time tearing open. The tower collapsed. The mirror shattered. The sky above the trees went black. And from the forest, 1,000 arms stretched upward, reaching, grasping, some human, some not. I ran, not out of fear, out of obedience, because the last thing it said, the thing it hissed as I dove into the trees, was, "Final night begins at 1 a.m. sharp. Do not miss it. It's 12:43 a.m. right now. Wherever I go, the sky looks wrong. The air smells burnt, and the trees are getting closer. They've started appearing near populated areas, side of highways, backyards, inside buildings. One was inside a Walmart freezer aisle in Kansas. I saw it while I was buying water. It blinked. If I miss the final night, I don't think it's just me who dies. I think Zone 5B opens permanently. I think whatever I let in, whatever wore my face, spreads like a virus. And you reading this, you're already infected. You saw the words. You heard my voice. It knows you now. The clock on my phone froze at 12:59 a.m. and hasn't moved since. The battery isn't dead. The screen still glows. But that number, 12:59, won't change. I've tried everything, restarting it, throwing it, praying. It's like time itself refuses to go forward until I finish what they started. I'm back at the tower, or something wearing the shape of the tower. The road that used to lead here is gone. The ground has turned to black glass that cracks when I breathe on it. Every tree hums with a low mechanical tone, like the forest has been wired into an enormous speaker. A voice from the static keeps whispering, "Clock in, look out." The shift never ends. There's no door this time, just an opening that leads upward into darkness. The air inside smells like rain that never fell. I climb. Every step creaks, but there's no wood beneath me. The stairs are made of photographs. Each one shows me. Sleeping somewhere I've been. The motel, the gas station, the bus seat, even the 7-Eleven bathroom. Someone, or something, has been watching every second. At the top, the room waits. The mirror is back. Only now it reflects the forest instead of me. The trees in the reflection move like they're breathing, and between their branches are faces. Too many faces. They blink in and out of existence, mouths forming words I can't hear. Then the radio crackles. Code, black, complete. Commence, merge. The air folds inward. The tower shudders, as if the world's gravity has decided to pull everything through it. I feel my bones tugging toward the center of the room. The mirror ripples again. and from inside the reflection, the other me walks out, not running, not attacking, just walking, as calm as if this was routine. He stops an arm's length away. Up close, the differences are small but wrong. The skin too smooth, the eyes too steady, the smile practiced. "You were supposed to understand," he says. "The lookout doesn't watch the forest. The forest watches the lookout." He lifts a hand and points toward the mirror. I force myself to look. The reflection shows the real world outside. Cars passing, people scrolling on phones, everything normal. But every few seconds, the image glitches and the trees of Zone 5B flash over it, swallowing entire highways, cities, faces. "You kept looking away," he continues. "So now everyone else will have to see." He steps closer. Our shadows overlap on the floor, and the air goes thin. For a moment, I can't tell which one of us is breathing. Then he puts a finger to my chest, right over my heart, and everything turns white. I wake up somewhere else. Daylight, noise, a McDonald's in the middle of nowhere, families eating, kids laughing, the sound of soda machines. It's almost normal, except no one looks at me, not even when I speak, not even when I wave my hand in front of their faces. I walk outside. There are trees growing through the pavement. No one notices. I drive until the gas runs out and end up in another town, but it's the same. People moving like mannequins, the sky flickering between blue and the gray of Zone 5B. I pass a storefront window and see my reflection. He's still smiling, but I'm not. And behind him, through the glass, the forest waits, branches pressed against the inside of the mirror like hands on an aquarium wall. A faint whisper bleeds through the glass. "Shift over. Good work, lookout. We'll take it from here." It's been hours, maybe days, since then. Every screen I find shows that same frozen timestamp, 12:59 a.m. Everywhere I go, the horizon has a line of trees that weren't there before. People walk past them without seeing. I think the merge finished. I think the world is becoming Zone 5B. And if you've read this far, if you pictured it, imagined it, seen it in your head, then the forest has your coordinates now. Listen carefully tonight. If the radio between your walls starts to hum, if your reflection lingers half a second longer than you do, that's your code black. Close your eyes. Do not wave back. Because once it knows you're watching, you're the next lookout.